After living my life for a while, I was going somewhere again. And then I looked again and saw my younger sister Shelley dating another cute guy. I hoped she would stay with him, but she did not. She broke up with him too. I was confused about why she couldn't stay with him. I went back to my own life. I was really disappointed with her for not staying with him. Next, I saw future bishops that I knew I would have on earth. I knew them and they knew me and George. There were three of them. I followed these bishops while they were following Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father into a room. They were all talking about me and my future ex-husband George. I was curious to see what they were doing, and I couldn't hear them clearly enough. I just knew they were talking about me. I followed all of them, and I watched Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ pointing down into what looked like some kind of veil or window opening through some clouds into my future life on earth. I looked down through the veil to see what they were pointing at. Then, when I looked down, I saw my future self standing in the bedroom near my bed and listening to my future ex-husband George read me a letter that he had written of how he was going to change and be a better man and not use drugs or alcohol anymore, and of how much he deeply loved me. But for a crazy long moment, I caught eyes with my future self, looking right back at myself in the eyes from Earth. I was caught off guard. I thought that my future self wouldn't see me, but she did. I wondered why they were all talking about me in that moment on Earth that I would have someday on Earth. And my premortal self was confused, and I thought this must be really important, or they wouldn't be talking about it. What was really weird is while I am remembering this right now, at this moment, I actually remember that happening from my Earth life perspective as well. Let me explain. I was with my ex-husband George, who had just returned from prison where he had been an inmate in a prison facility for 18 months. He had written a letter every day for 18 months as if to prove his love to me. It sounds all good and all, and I kind of believed him. I just knew that George was a man of lots of kind words and hardly any actions to prove it. So whatever he had written seemed like nothing less than another story or lie. I barely trusted him at all. I felt really done with him at that time. George cheated on me also, but he was so manipulative that it's like he owned me, and he made me feel so unworthy that I didn't think that anybody else would want to be with me. And he always told me how he was the best thing that I ever could have. So there's that also. And he had cheated on me several times, and he seemed to be okay with that. I couldn't even put makeup on. He tried to get me to sleep with his other friends, and I always refused. I said I don't believe in doing that kind of thing. As I was saying, I was listening to him read this letter to me, and I felt as if someone was watching me. And I looked up and saw my past premortal self from the premortal world, and I looked directly into her eyes at my past self, and I saw her, and I was startled. But at the same moment, I felt as if I faintly remember myself looking down at myself from the premortal world at the same time. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my life. But after this experience, I thought to myself, this must be important, and there must be a reason why I'm witnessing this. It must mean that I'm supposed to stay in my marriage. So I thought perhaps he is genuine and maybe he really will change. So the thoughts I had prior to that day about leaving him changed into me deciding to stay with him at that time. Hence the reason I was able to have my baby girl a few years later. I know that it was meant for me to stay for that reason, and to stay for a second daughter I had during a later time that I had miscarried at 4 months along. Because even though she was miscarried, her spirit claimed to be my daughter. She had claimed that unborn body. My sister Shelley and I had witnessed her on the ultrasound a couple weeks prior to me finding out the baby was dead inside of me. Right before I went to the hospital for a checkup on the baby's heartbeat, my ex husband George told me that I had to name the baby before I left. So I had him pick out the boy's name and I picked out the girl's name, and she was named. Then I went to my appointment at the hospital and found out that my baby was dead inside of me, and I had to go to the ER and deliver her immediately. And when I did, I was able to hold my dead baby after she was born. She was beautiful. Everything was perfect except her undeveloped genitalia area. So I really didn't know that she was a girl until after I received a blood test of what the sex of the baby was. I had actually thought that she was a boy. A few weeks later, I got the blood test report in the mail and found out that she was a girl. But I had an experience while I was mourning my baby's loss. I looked up into the sky towards heaven, crying with a prayer in my heart that I would see her again someday. Then I saw the clouds, what looked like a mother rocking her baby, and it gave me some relief, and a feeling of love filled my heart, and I felt peace. Later, I dreamed on earth that I had a little toddler girl, and I was at church with my future husband. This little toddler had blonde hair and blue eyes. That's how I knew she was to be mine. Her spirit chose to be my spiritual daughter. She must have claimed that unborn body. Because I believe that when you miscarry, that the spirit of the baby is to be born, either chooses to keep that body or to come down in a different body at a later time. I also believe that because my mother had a miscarried twins before me and my older sister were born. I remember from another dream that I had in the premortal world of me choosing at the last minute to not be a twin to my older sister Linda. I wanted to be unique. Then I was born later, a couple years after Linda. Back to my premortal world dream. I was getting divorced from my horrible ex-husband George. I was also trying to find someone who would watch my kids temporarily while I got help for myself. Someone that was a member of the church who would be okay helping me by temporarily taking care of my kids and was willing to give them back to me. I saw her face. I knew what she looked like, and I saw the Lord ask her if she would take care of my kids for me. And then I saw her say, "Yes, I will do it." On earth, in real life, when I met her, I remembered that I chose her in heaven, and I knew that she was the right one. She is the one that later in real life ended up being a foster mom to my children after being placed in a temporary home. She had 5 boys of her own, but she was willing to take on my 3 kids also. She had agreed in heaven to it in this dream. I also knew that she was a member of my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they are known for large families, and I knew that she could watch them. So when my CPS worker, a kind man, had asked me if he should ask the only foster care family that was LDS in our area, and she was a woman, if she would take them, I said, yes, I trust that she will take them. So he did ask her, and she did agree. After a few days of thinking about it, I think she prayed about it. Then she knew that she would take them, and she did. Back to the dream of the premortal world. Later, I went to the clearing area in my dream. This time, I was single in this dream. This time, I saw this handsome, good man, William, standing on the beach with his arms crossed. He looked very mad and upset. He seemed to be done with the dating scene and done with women. He was broken and depressed. Then I saw Heavenly Father, and he said to me telepathically, "Do you still want him?" I wondered at such a question. I thought to myself, why is he asking me this question when he knows I want him? But I answered yes, and I thought, felt, and knew that I could help this good man. I felt love for him, and I wanted him to be my husband. I remembered him serving the Lord and being full of the Spirit as a missionary when he was going door to door with other missionaries. I just knew that he was still that good man deep down inside his soul, and I knew that I could help him, and that he would eventually heal and become that good, righteous man again. And I knew he was really a good person inside, even though he was suffering. William was my true soulmate. Then one time I watched from the clearing area again, and I saw William talking to our Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father was talking to him, and then I heard this wonderful man, William, say to Heavenly Father, "I will do anything you want me to do." Next, I knew there was a grand council in heaven, and I was getting ready. I was fixing my hair and my makeup so that I would look good. I felt as if a woman that I was very close to was there with me. She was urging me to hurry so that I wouldn't be late. But I didn't see her face, so I don't know who she is, but I believe someday I will know. So I finally started going to the Grand Council. I arrived just in time to see my ex-husband, George. I was attracted to George physically. He had blonde hair and blue eyes like I liked, but I wasn't spiritually attracted to him. He is a man that I'd be married to on earth. I watched him say what he would do on earth and how good he would be. He spoke of how he would be born into a home with drugs and alcohol, and how he would still turn out to be a good person and make it back to live with Heavenly Father. It sounded all good, but in my heart I really wanted to be with the good blonde-haired, righteous man William that I watched in the clearing area whenever I was sad. He had blonde hair and blue eyes too, my favorite color eyes. He was handsome, but the main reason I was attracted to him is because he was far more righteous than George, the man I was to be married to. Right after my time at the Grand Council, I had to leave for some reason, but I really wanted to stay because the good man William that I really wanted to hear was up to speak next. Felt in my heart that I might get him someday to be my husband. I was living on faith that I would. As I left, I stared at him and memorized his face. I wanted to recognize him someday on earth, so I would know who he was. I didn't know how I would ever find him on earth. I just had faith that somehow it would work in my favor. If I just trusted my Heavenly Father, He would help me find him.